right, well, welcome everyone. I am just going to go ahead and dive in and get started. Just a couple of pieces of information. My name is Ellie Burns. I am the Senior Director of Nonprofit Relations at the Community Foundation, and excited to have you all here today to learn a little bit more about our For Impact Leaders, which is a 9-month leadership cohort specifically designed for nonprofit leaders. The name For Impact Leaders comes from the idea that the nonprofit sector could potentially also be called the For Impact sector because the work we do impacts our community in such a great way. Feel free as I go through, if you want to put questions in the chat box, you can. We can definitely answer them as we go if you want to unmute and ask as well. We are recording this session and we will send the recording out afterwards. And then we will have some time at the end for you to ask questions too. I see a few of our current participants and some alumni on the call. And so they've been willing to join us and to answer any questions that you might have firsthand as participants of the program. So I'm going to dive in and just give you kind of a high-level overview of the program. And so let's go ahead. All right, so I wanted to just start by letting you know that when we had this idea to develop the For Impact Leaders program about 3 years ago, we realized we can't do this in a silo as the Community Foundation. So we created an advisory committee to sort of help us think through the curriculum, what's needed, help with collecting evaluation information as we go through the program. The advisory committee has evolved over the years. It has moved along and welcomed some new individuals and said thank you to some individuals who were kind of here from the beginning. So right now in 2025, this is our current advisory committee, and we're just so appreciative of their voices and all they've done to really help us think through this experience and make sure it's really meeting the need of the nonprofit sector. Here is just a picture of some of our previous cohorts, our current cohort. We do meet at the Community Foundation C3 Center. I'll get into more details about the specific days, but relatively 8:30 to 4:30, give or take a little bit each day, the fourth Tuesday of every month. So you'll see we try to get outside when we can, whether that's for just some reflection time or a picture here or there. But for the majority of the days, we are at the Community Foundation in the C3 Center. So I'm just going to cover kind of the who, what, why, when, how of the program as we go through. So who is the program really designed for? We're recruiting about 12 to 16 dedicated nonprofit employees within Greater Des Moines. So we do ask that the work that you're doing and that your location are within Greater Des Moines because it is an in-person cohort. We would like you to have 3 or more years of experience in the nonprofit sector. Doesn't need to be in your current role that you're in right now, but just sort of within that nonprofit sector. We're looking for individuals who either hold current or have potential for future areas of influence in their organization. So right now we've got individuals that are currently serving as the executive director of the organization. We've got development staff. We've got some direct service providers. The goal is just that we want to encourage these individuals to stay in the nonprofit sector and really build their skills. And so we're looking for people who hopefully that's on their career trajectory, is to stay in nonprofit. We want individuals who are committed to their own professional leadership journey. I explained that the program sort of has 3 pillars that we operate on. We work on professional leadership skills. So what does it really mean to run a nonprofit? We focus on personal leadership skills. Where do you have strengths? Where do you maybe have blind spots? And then our third and equally important pillar is really networking. Creating that network across the cohort members, but also with the individuals that come in and present to the cohort. So we really want individuals who are committed to all 3 of those areas and their own professional leadership journey. We're looking for people who have the bandwidth for and interest in expanding their skill set around purpose-driven leadership. So really understanding that, the work that we do in the nonprofit sector is part of a bigger ecosystem and it takes all of us. And so that's really what we're looking for in the individuals that we select. We want people who value the importance of developing a strong network of colleagues. That's kind of back to that third pillar I talked about. And then obviously we need you to have the support of your immediate supervisor, whether that's the CEO or executive director of the organization, or if you're in that role, your board chair. They will be asked to complete a letter of recommendation. So we want to be sure that you're communicating with them that, you will be out of the office one day each month for the cohort, and just that you'll be bringing back some hopefully really great information that you can share across your organization. So what? I've talked about some of this already just in our first slide, but the what of the program, it is a 9-month leadership cohort. We're focused on the development and engagement of knowledgeable leaders, again, within the greater Des Moines community. We do focus on individual experiences. So this year we sat down and created personal mission and vision statements for the individuals that were in the program. So it is a combination of really developing you as an individual leader and your skills. We're hoping that this development can be translated into leading purpose-driven work. And this is an opportunity to develop collaborative relationships from across the sector. As I mentioned, that's a really important piece of this. We understand that as you sort of sometimes move up in leadership within any organization, it can be somewhat lonely. And it's really nice to have individuals you can turn to either ask questions or share challenges or get ideas or what have you. And so whether that's from the presenters that come in, from the cohort peers, or from alum who've already gone through the program, we really try to emphasize the importance of that network. So the cost to participate is about $2,000 a person, but thanks to a generous donation that we've secured, the tuition for each participant is $250. So that includes everything from materials, books, things that we hand out, breakfast and lunch every time that we meet. We do provide some mentoring opportunities, and so all of that is included in that $250 fee. If that fee is a barrier for you to participate, we do have scholarships available. So when you fill out the application, there will just be a section that says, are you interested in a scholarship? You just say yes. And then we ask for just essentially a paragraph or two explaining why. So maybe your organization doesn't have the finances to invest in this sort of professional development right now. Maybe they're asking you to cover this out of your own pocket, whatever it might be. Just let us know kind of the reason that you're looking for that scholarship fund. So we have 9 different sort of themes every time we meet. Each day is a different theme. We start in January focusing on that personal leadership. So we'll generally do some sort of an individual leadership assessment, whether that's Enneagram or StrengthsFinder or Myers-Briggs. We've tried a few of them. And just really diving in, like I said, to where do you have those strengths and skills personally, and maybe where do you have some blind spots or gaps that you could focus on. In February, we talk about executive leadership. So we're starting to sort of get into some of the nuts and bolts of nonprofit organizations. What does it mean to create a strategic plan? What does it mean to create a budget? Kind of the really important things that you need to know in terms of being on that executive leadership team. In March, we cover influence and advocacy, starting to talk about and think about how everyone that works in nonprofit has the responsibility of advocating for their organization and the sector as a whole. Then we turn to nonprofit strategy. So that's sort of a building off of what we learned about in February, starting to think about, really the strategy around running an organization. In May, I think we're to May, we talk about assessment and value and evaluation. And with a lot of these, it's beyond just maybe the surface level of, program assessment or program evaluation. we can start to think about it in terms of, staff assessment or staff evaluation or individual assessment and evaluation. We kind of try to think more broadly about these different themes and topics. And I would say year over year, we invite different presenters to come in, sort of based on maybe where the sector's at the moment, or what we're hearing from feedback from, previous classes or from our advisory committee. So these themes are somewhat fluid and change a bit year to year, but overall are relatively consistent. Our next month starts to think about resource development and really that idea of similar to advocacy and how everybody in the nonprofit sector is on the advocacy team. Everybody in the nonprofit sector is on the fund development team. We're all fundraisers at the end of the day, and so starting to sort of dive into that idea. July is communication. We actually just finished that session for the current class yesterday. So thinking about communication in terms of maybe hiring and onboarding staff, storytelling for your organization, crucial conversations that you might be having with peers and colleagues in the sector. And then we had a really fun session actually yesterday where we talked about sort of the communication that you put forth through, your appearance and your body language and kind of how you interact. And then in August, we'll do organizational culture or dynamic problem solving or something along those lines. And so this is just a loose idea of kind of what's been covered this year and in past years. And then we also, we've got the leading leaders icon there. We try to provide different opportunities, whether it's through sessions with current executive directors where they talk about sort of their professional journey, or whether we invite individuals in to sort of serve as mentors. We just try to create as many opportunities, again, to build those networks as we can. So why might you be interested in participating in the program? We'll help you build confidence in your personal leadership abilities. We'll provide some awareness of competencies that a purpose-driven leader has. We're going to really dive into some strategies for tactical organizational leadership. You get a binder, and I know from previous classes, individuals say they refer back to the binder frequently, just with different tools and things that we provide throughout the cohort. And then I've said it many times throughout this, really just deepening those relationships with your fellow nonprofit peers and leaders. This experience will enhance both the individual leader and the entire nonprofit community. We are just hoping to develop the most vibrant, healthy, and impactful nonprofit sector in Des Moines. And that includes a community of leaders and colleagues who collaborate, celebrate, and support one another. And I hope that the current participants could really speak to that as part of their experience. So kind of nuts and bolts of the actual application. Applications are currently open. It is a SharePoint form that you will fill out that asks just some basics in terms of you and your organization that you're representing. And we really try to be thoughtful in those 12 to 16 participants that we select, that we have a variety of years of experience, areas in which they work, lenses that they're bringing to the different conversations. So like I said, we've got a couple people in development, a couple people in sort of that marketing hat, a couple people sort of wearing all the hats as an executive director, maybe in an organization of one staff. So we really value that different people can sort of bring those different experiences and those different conversations to the table. And so we'll ask just some basic logistics questions in that SharePoint form. And then we have some open-ended essay questions that you will also answer within that form. So you can go ahead and start to review that form and kind of draft your answers. I would recommend in a Word or a Google Doc so you can copy and paste when you're ready to apply. But applications are due August 15th, so not too much longer. It'll be here honestly before we know it. So I would definitely encourage you to sort of get started now and thinking about those answers. There may be things that you might need to talk to some other team members to collect in terms of organizational size and budget and things like that. So you'll want to give yourself plenty of time. You also, like I said earlier, do need a letter of recommendation from either your executive director or your board chair. And so you'll want to give them plenty of time to complete that. We will notify participants and alternate participants by Friday, September 10th, and we generally give everybody that's invited a few days to let us know that yes, they are still interested in participating. They want to accept the application invitation, and then we will announce the final cohort shortly after that September 10th date. We do a social kickoff on Tuesday, December 2nd here at the Community Foundation, just a chance for you to meet your fellow cohort peers and some of the alums. And then we will meet the fourth Tuesday of every month, again, roughly 8:30 to 4, and there are your dates there. Probably, I think May is a little different because of Memorial Day. So I've hit on a lot of this, but again, just about the letter of application. So here are the questions that the application is going to ask. So we're looking for, answers that are not over 1,000 words. Obviously, we want you to be thoughtful in your answer, but we definitely don't need a novel or a dissertation. Um, be thinking that the review committee is reading all of the answers from all of the applicants. So what really helps you stand out and tell the story of how you are a purpose-driven leader who's really invested in your career in the nonprofit sector. So we're looking at what are the leadership capabilities in which you have strengths and where do you have opportunities for growth, really looking at individuals that can understand where they have opportunities for growth and improvement. What do you hope to get out of this experience? I mean, we we do an evaluation at the end of every session, and we really try to be thoughtful about responding to the needs of the individuals that are in the current cohort. So we're looking at what you want to get out of this experience and trying to be thoughtful so that this cohort is really responsive to what you want and need. We're looking at what ways have you worked to expand professional collaborations throughout your career within the sector. Obviously, I've said many times throughout this presentation, I mean, that collaborative networking spirit is really important. We're curious how you would characterize a purpose-driven leader, and then we want to know what unique contributions will you bring to the cohort. So these are your open-ended essay questions that will be on the application. Again, that letter of support from your ED, president, or board chair, whichever is most applicable to you. So we're really, looking at just a combination of individuals to participate. We look at sort of your individual criteria, we look at your organization, and then we look at the service sector in which you operate. We're looking for individuals who maybe work with youth, and then some that work maybe in food security, and some that might be more on the funder side. Or we definitely don't want everybody that's in one area within the sector. We really understand the value and the benefit that we get from pulling people who have different experiences in. And so those are kind of, it's equally looked at across all areas when we're evaluating our applicants. So just a snapshot of pretty much everything I've covered in our quick time together, who we're looking for, what the program is really all about, why you might consider applying, when. Again, applications are due on Friday, August 15th by noon, and how you apply. Just a few quotes from some of our past participants, Perry and Travis, and the impact that the program had on them. Travis talks about we do a lot of conversations around boards, strategic planning, fundraising, all of the things that you think about when you think about nonprofit work. We dive into all of those. So with that, I will just stop talking, and I think I will also stop sharing my screen. My contact information is up there. If you do have any questions after this session, feel free to reach out. Always happy to have a conversation. But I will kind of just leave some space here for you to ask questions from our current participants or from me if you've got any. And before I open that up, I'll just say again, thanks for joining us today. So yeah, love to hear from you.
Hi, I just had a quick question. How do you like the questions formatted in our application? Do you want it like listed out as question, then paragraph right after that? Or do you want something that's more written like a letter where it just addresses each one?
Yeah, really good question. If you want to put the sort of the question there, you can restate it. And then I would say um, we really don't have a requirement. Just however you feel that you can best speak to each of those, and it doesn't have to be consistent from answer to answer. In some instances, it might feel better to give me or give us some bulleted points and then speak to each of those. You could write it more like a
Yeah.
letter to the review committee. Yeah, Allison, we're really flexible in how that best suits you and how you'd like to speak to it. So feel free to get creative.
Thank you.
I did see in the chat box somebody asked if one of the dates listed is already a conflict, is that a problem? I probably didn't say this, but we do really hope that you can be at each of the days. We also recognize sometimes things come up. And so if you know that in advance and we can sort of work with you around that date, I wouldn't say that if one date is a conflict, that's enough reason not to apply. But if you're concerned that you wouldn't be able to be there every month, then maybe this isn't the best year to think about it. I see Andrea and Gabe. I don't know if you've got anything that you would add.
Yeah, hi guys. I am currently in the cohort for Impact Leaders. And just to reiterate some things Ellie said, I definitely think the most beneficial thing for me has just been meeting all the incredible people in the program. We have created really genuine friendships, and there's just this level of trust and support, and you can talk to each other about maybe things you're going through at work that you might not want to talk to a colleague about. So it's just a really great place to learn from each other and create like actual friends who get it, who get what's going on in the nonprofit sector, and you can kind of vent and just be there for each other. So that's been incredible. And then I was a little concerned about taking a full day away from work each month, but it's been awesome. Just having those 8 hours to really like dive into the topic and get on a deeper level. And then I come back to work so refreshed and rejuvenated and sharing all the ideas I learned. So it is so worth it to step away from a day. Nothing will burn down. They don't need you that much. So it's been really refreshing to get to do that.
Thanks, Andrea. And I would just tag on to that. We do try to be thoughtful and give breaks, and we take a lunch break. And so if there are instances where you might need to take a phone call or check an email or whatever, we try to build that in as much as we can during the day. So thank you. Lauren, I see that you have a question.
Hi, yeah, Andrea just kind of touched on this, but I just wanted to ask someone from the current cohort or if there's any past members, just what has your greatest takeaway been from the program and how have you brought that back to your organization and implemented those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. Go for it, Gabe.
Yeah. I feel like you read my mind. I'm like, oh, I think I have an answer for this. One of the biggest takeaways is even each topic that's covered. Um, you can almost immediately apply it to something that you have going on at work, whether it's an issue, maybe like a program or an event that you have going on. It is directly applicable, and by having everyone else, like Andrea said, people who get it, people who are in the trenches with you, just at a different organization and understand the struggles, you're able to kind of think tank and bounce ideas off of each other. Have you experienced this? If you have, how did you go about handling said problem or challenge? So for me, I love to get other people's opinions, and that was for me is an easy, immediate takeaway. And then also you have this community where uh, if you have personal things that are going on, being able to have people with lots of experience who know people are connected to each other. Hey, I know someone. Let me let me send that initial email or text to get you connected. It goes a long way. And just having support in work, but then also personal life is big.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. I see Alex too. Hi, Alex. Anything you'd want to add?
Hi. Yes, so I am also a current cohort member, and I would just add on to what Gabe said is like the networking and connecting with people is so valuable. The speakers are very open to if I'll just have coffee with you. If you have questions, reach out to me. We get all their contact information. They've been very open to any questions afterwards to directly connect you with that speaker. And there's been a lot of new information, but there's also just that reinforcement of like, oh yeah, like this is what we're doing. And especially in the nonprofit world of like leveling that playing field of like, I'm not talking to people at a for-profit. It is all nonprofit related. So we can all think that same way and not have to think of like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me. Everything is very applicable and like can apply every day. And yes, I've loved getting to know everybody and I've just really enjoyed it.
You both. Good question, Lauren. Thank you. Well, any more questions that we can answer? Otherwise we're close on time. So I will say if you got what you needed, feel free to hop off. We will send a recording of today's session after this. So if there was anything I went too quickly through, you'll have the recording. But again, always feel free to reach out. Happy to have a conversation too. So I can just stick on for a little bit. Otherwise, I'll say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your interest in your own personal leadership and the leadership within our sector. We really value that. So thank you.